My heart went kind of flippity flop. I think we've all been there with the chicken. A loved one, you've quilted one and you want to send it out. These questions might apply to you. I'm going to leave it like that to think about it over the weekend. Hi, my friends, welcome back. We're going to have another easy video today, and it's kind of a continuation of yesterday's. I'm not going to be sending out Jody's quilt today unless I get an email back from her. I sent her an email that said, hey, are you sure? Well, I didn't say it that way, but it's like, are you okay with me vacuum sealing this? I feel like going forward, I need to put it on my website that's my default, and I'm going to be using the priority mail boxes, and that way people know what my default is, and if they want something else because they're the ones paying for it, then they can tell me. But since I didn't clear that with her in the first place, I need to, because like I told you, my heart went kind of flippity flop when I saw it shrink down, and I was worried about how I folded it by putting it on the bias so that I was protecting my fibers, and then I'd go and squish the dang thing, so it just put a lot of sirens going off in my head. So also I'm going to send out to, I got some of these stickers. I'm going to put those in the boxes. I had done a video, oh gosh, I think maybe in December, where people could put down in the comments that they wanted a sticker, and everybody who wanted a sticker are the people who have sent me their quilts. So with each of the quilts that I send out, I'll just put in some of these stickers. So if I miss somebody, let me know. If you say, hey, I posted on your video that I wanted a sticker and I don't have a sticker yet, let me know. Because as long as this supply lasts, I'm going to send them out. So I'm going to stick in with Jody's is this one. I wore this on my shirt yesterday. Well, not this on my shirt, but I wore my shirt with this slogan on it. It's a member of the Worldwide Running Stitches Club, which I think is cute, obviously, because I made it. And then this one is just a completely dejected Victorian woman. She's just like rethinking her entire life, right? And it's because she played chicken with a bobbin. She goes, when you realize you trusted an almost empty bobbin, and now you're second guessing all your life choices, you realize that that's just kind of how you play life out. You think you can make it, you can think you can make it, and then it doesn't work out. I think we've all been there with the chicken, the bobbin chicken. So I'm going to put this in her box, and I want to experiment. While I have two quilts that are ready to be packaged up, I want to experiment with the sizing of the boxes. Like if I get this one wrapped up and ready, and I get Sherry's wrapped up and ready, will they both fit in a large size mailbox? Before we get started on the video that you clicked on to watch, I want to show you what you can expect tomorrow. You're going to see this quilt be advanced and why. It has something to do with, let me show you this beautiful, beautiful quilt that Vicki, a viewer who is now a friend, you can see her in the comments from time to time. Her YouTube name is Jo Sews. She's a sweetheart of a lady. I have a quilt of hers that I'm going to be doing next, but I wanted to do some practice. So I'm practicing today so I can work on hers. But let me just show you first what a beaut hers is, and then I'll get you back to the video you came here to watch. This, you can already see, it's very colorful. And I don't want to completely open it up. I want it to stay nice and tidy. And it is kind of big. But the way this one is laid out is that there are different sections to it. Because it's such a punchy quilt, I didn't want to just do an edge to edge all over. I wanted to use it as an opportunity to try to learn some modified custom. It's not what you would consider a full custom job. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on certain areas within the quilt is going to get one treatment, another area of the quilt is going to get another treatment. To practice, I put on some cheap $3.99 fabric from Joann's. I probably should go back and get more of this before they're out of business. I've laid out lines to mark off different borders, and I'm going to try to do them separately. The reason why this gets tricky is that the outside of your seams, you don't want, when you're just doing edge to edge, you go from the left side to the right side, and you go outside of the boundary of the edges of the quilt. But with this, when you're trying to make sure you stay inside of a certain area, you don't want your stitching to go on the outside of that boundary. So I need to practice and creating a boundary and quilting inside of that. That's what I will be doing. But first, I'm going to get you back to the video you came here to watch. Will they both fit in a large size mail box, priority mail box, and from the United States Postal Service? We'll see. But what I have to do is I have to send this back too. Like I've promised everybody, when you send in whatever extra is left over from your backing and from your batting, it goes back with you. And this, I gotta tell you, is the Kyoto batting. I've bragged on it and bragged on it. And I know as Joann's is going out of business and everybody has been having to rethink where they're getting everything. And, right now, go and get all the good deals you can get wherever you can get them. But as you're rethinking your supply, be thinking about when you want to upgrade to a real quality. This Kyoto bamboo is delightful. I absolutely love it. So this is Jody's, and it will go back in her box with hers. And this is her leftover backing and scraps of batting that she could use. So that goes back with her, and the stickers and this. And I have Sherry's ready too. So I'm going to kind of do that, get these ready. I'm going to not make you watch me do it, but I'm going to get them ready and get the boxes ready. And then we'll see what we can actually get in one of those large boxes. Or is it cheaper than still to use 2 medium boxes, or a medium and small box? Like, how small could I get this if I shrink just this down? Would this then fit in? It wouldn't, surely that wouldn't fit in a small box. The small box is pretty dang small. I did grab one of them from the Postal Service. Let me get those and show you what their sizes are. I know that my backdrop is not beautiful, and I will be working on that. I do care about what that backdrop is. I just haven't gotten there yet. I'm going to have to get some kind of tabletop here, and then I got to find a place to store these, which I got that figured out. I might do that later today. Then I can try to worry about making that more attractive, or at least not an eyesore. That would be a good start. And of course, this is just our Mars stuff that I'm keeping nearby. I don't want to put it up because I'm going to be getting to this, hopefully today. So these are our boxes. This is my shipping station, so I'm going to put these labels over here so that they're kept handy. This is one of the medium flat rate boxes. So you can see this is how big it's going to be. I'll make that up for you in just a second. I just want to walk through this and find a small one for us to see really quickly. Is this a small? No. Did I bring a small? I may not have brought a small home. I guess I didn't. They're pretty small. I mean, they're only like an inch deep, inch and a half maybe. I can look it up just as easily as you can, but they're just not very big. So this would really have to shrink down a lot. Like this could be sent in it. Like if this is all that was left over, that could easily be sent in one of those, or maybe even in an envelope. I was watching on that video that I told you about yesterday where I learned that you can use a trash can liner for your vacuum sealing, where she packaged up one of her quilts and put it in an envelope to send it out. I would be nervous about that, be worried that it's not enough protection, because this is hair. This is a lot more protection than a bag. Even the rip resistant bags. I just feel better about putting a quilt in this. So I don't want to use a bag, even if it saves you money, unless you tell me that's what you want. You won't be seeing me put any in a bag. It's just, I'm nervous about doing harm to somebody's quilt. A lot of love goes into these things, and I know they're just cotton, just quilt. I mean, just cotton, just thread, and just time. But it's not like losing a child or anything. But it is love and time and cost and expense and investment of oneself, and I value that. And I would not want to be responsible for any harm coming to it. So there's 2 different sizes of these medium. These are the 2 mediums. They just open differently. And then this is the large. We may have to use a large. Let me go look up what that costs. I'm going to make up both mediums and one large. I think there's only one variety of large. Okay, I haven't done extensive research, so I don't really understand this statement. That's why I'm just going to say it, and I'll figure it out later, because regardless, it gives us an idea of the cost. But what I'm finding is that the USPS Priority Mail large flat rate box costs $26.30 at the post office, or $23.95 when using free supplies. These are free, so what is the $26.30 option? That doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, $23.95 is what this should cost. Now, the medium is $19 and something. Let me look that up. I've forgotten. It's like $19.12 or something like that. Medium flat rate priority mailbox cost $19.15. But see, there's another confusing statement. It says a medium flat rate priority mailbox for USPS costs $16.65 at the post office and $19.15 for commercial use. I don't understand. So if you guys understand shipping, let me know, because I got to change my website to reflect something specific. And if I don't understand it, I can't really make that change. So I appreciate your contribution there. So let's use the larger cost, $19.15 for the medium, and then for the large, it was the $26.30 would be the cost. So you're not getting double the space for the large, but you are getting more space. Two things I want to do. I'm going to make up one of each of these boxes, two of the mediums and the one large. And then I'm going to prepare Jody's quilt, doing the bias folding, and see how big of a box I need for all of her stuff. But I also want to do an experiment because I have two quilts for Sherry. I only have one of them quilted so far. And she and I were texting back and forth this morning. It's like, do I go ahead and send this one back and then send the other one? Or do I wait till the other one's done and send them both? Because if this one goes in a medium box, that's $19, right? And then the other one would be $19. That's $40. So if I could get them both in a large, then I should just wait, because then she's only spending $26, and that saves her some money that she can spend on something in her studio, right? So these are just kind of experiments I'm running. I know it's not directly related to everybody, but if you're thinking about sending a quilt to me, or another long armor, or just sending one to a loved one, you've quilted one and you want to send it out, these questions might apply to you. So we're just going to walk through it. I needed kind of an easy day. This top rib is still dislocated. It's been dislocated since July, since I had my surgery in July. And it's a little bit more inflamed today. So I'm just going to be kind of taking it easy and not overly doing it today. So we're going to work through this and get this. Hang on. Be right back on camera. Okay, I got these boxes done and I was about to show them to you, but I wanted to get the quilt folded up before I got back on camera. And then I started thinking, I'm going to fold it differently. And I want to talk about it while I fold it differently. So let me move this so that you can see what's going on here. And I gotta say, I don't know if you can see what's off camera here, but every time I pause that, I am hitting play on the Catbird Quilts tour through QuiltCon, and it is so awesome, like so inspiring. Just makes me want to just, figure out how to eat and live off air so I can just be in my quilt room all the time working and not need money, in other words, just be creative all the time. So what I'm trying to do is get this smaller and seeing if I can make that work out by folding this curve, folding this direction more than once before I fold in from the sides. Don't know if it'll work. I don't know that there's really a bad way to do this, a right way to do this. I'm just trying and experimenting. I've seen videos where ladies from Missouri Star Quilt Company demonstrated how to fold on the bias, and I've watched the other lady that I told you about, and it's just all basically the same. You start folding it on the diagonal. I fold in from either side. I'm leaving enough here so that there's enough to fold over the edge, like right there, so it's not trying to fold, there's not so much tension that it's trying to flop it back. So that's not too bad. I feel like that was, that made for a nice size. And what I should have done, and I probably still can, is just place this inside. And why don't I do that too? This is about the same size there. Close enough, but why don't we make that a little prettier too? Just going to fold in the raggedy edge. As I was preparing this medium-sized box, I was thinking this might work when you have separate items. You can, you know, seal it down and put one in there and put one beside it maybe. So that is an option. So this is our medium size box. Our dimensions, yeah, 3.5 by 12 by 14.25 is what this is. Okay, so that's one medium. And this is the other, now this is a large. We'll get to that in a second. Let's go to the other medium. This is the other medium. So these should, in theory, hold something similar because they're shipping for the same amount. The dimensions on this, 11.25 by 8.75 by 6. Okay. So I'm not worrying about the vacuum seal right now. We're just going to get an estimate of what we think would fit. So this would fit down inside there. Like I can refold it and make that fit in there. And when I do, even before I seal it, I'm going to have some on the height. Now, when I refold this and make it smaller, it's going to be a little bit taller. So I think I would have room to refold this and put that all inside this one box. So that's good to know. I think I can get Jody's in one box. So for your reference, I'll put on the screen too the size of her quilt. So for you to be thinking about what your shipping cost might be whenever you have to ship something back, your leftover batting, your leftover fabric from the backing, and then your quilt most likely is going to go in a medium size. So I'll be able to update that on the website, and that's one of the things I'll do today. And now let's think about whether or not we could get it all in here. Okay, so that's gone to right about here. So we've got about 3 inches of space here that we could fold this down and get that in there. So I could probably even get it without, like this can get pretty small. Like I could, if I did that, if I could fold this one more time, I could squeeze that in there. Okay, so I'm really close to all of this fitting in this one box. It needs to stop here, and it is stopping here. You can see how it's about to pop out of the box. But if I were to use the vacuum seal on the quilt and then on the batting, it'll probably all fit in this one box. So without a doubt, that size quilt with that much backing, it would all go back to somebody for $19.12. Okay, so now just we'll experiment with that. But now, the big experiment is I'm going to get Sherry's quilt over here. We'll take a look at it, and we'll figure out if we can get both quilts and leftover backing and batting inside a large box. Because if you're shipping a quilt to me, oftentimes people will send, you'll weight up and you'll store up 2 or 3 quilts and you'll send them to the Long Armor at one time. So you want to know really what your costs are going to be and how can we make that efficient for you. That's why I want to do my homework and have answers for people. I took a second to roll, lint roll Sherry's quilt. You know what? I wanted to read to you guys the dimensions on both these quilts. So this is Sherry's quilt. And I think if I remember correctly, she's had it for a little while. And the dimensions on it is pretty similar to Jody's, really similar, because Sherry's is this one, 52 by 66, and Jody's was 54 by 63. So they're really comparable in size. So that makes it a good comparison for us to use to judge what you can expect if you're going to send in more than one quilt. So if we're going to put both quilts in one box to save money, can we do that along with backing and batting? So let me find that. Before we move on, though, let me tell you about this quilt pattern that we used on Sherry's. I really do love it. I'll try to get a close-up for you. It is called Elevate. It's by Anne Bright Designs. I just really do like it. I think I'll find myself using it a lot because you get real good coverage without it being too dense. So that makes it, in my mind, that makes a quilt real pliable, real relaxed. You know, the more dense it is, and we're going to look at this one on another day, but let me grab this. This one that I haven't shown you guys yet, but this is one I learned so much on. I learned how to use machine. I, found, so many different problems, and I had to upgrade my software and so many different things. I densely quilted it because I really wanted to play with the vibrancy of the fabrics. And so we used a thread that was going to show. It probably could have looked beautiful too if we had used this same quilt design and something that was much more loose, but I quilted it densely and it is just more stiff. But we will look at this one in more detail at another time. Let's stay focused on it. It's just so hard. These are all just so pretty. Before I got back on camera, I trimmed off more of the batting. I leave a good bit because I don't know how thick you're going to make your binding. So I leave that up to you to make that decision whenever you're squaring up your quilt. I don't want to cut into any area that you might want. So I'm going to leave you a generous amount, but I don't need to make it so generous that it's adding to the bulk of our packaging, right? So this is our large box. Yeah, so if I fold it in half, it will fit inside the bottom of that box. So let's do that. Okay, that fit down inside there. It's not been vacuum sealed. It'll lose about 1.5 inches, we know. So I think we could fit 2 layered in here. And I think the leftover backing and batting will fit in there too. I don't have backing and batting to send back to Sherry, but for somebody else I would. Because when Sherry sent hers in, she told me to just keep the extra and that it just her gift to me because she is awesome like that. She has been extraordinarily generous to me. And I really appreciate just her vote of confidence in me and encouragement for what she's meant for me in this channel. Okay, so clearly that would fit 2 quilts, but not the backing and batting, and 1 large. And what did we say that was? $26? So if somebody sends to me 2 quilts of about this size, I can send your quilts back, but I probably can't send, I can send it all back, but I can send your quilts back in a large box, but I probably can't also send back your batting and your backing. This, of course, does have the extra backing that's down inside there, which wasn't very much. Okay, that's just good to know. So to do this, we would have to put it in another box. Or you can decide, you know what, Dawn? If you can use this, don't send this back because it's going to cost me an extra shipping just to send this amount. It might cost you more in shipping to send this back than it would cost you to just buy a new bag of this. You know what I mean? But let's start suctioning this all down and see what we get. I'm going to take both these out, put the bag in, suction it, and see if we could add this. It looks like it's going to be Monday before I go to the post office because it's become very clear that it's going to be cheaper for Sherry if we wait to send back this quilt when I get the other one done. Instead of sending out 2 at $19, we will send out 2 in a large box at 26 something. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I went downstairs and came back up. I'll catch my breath here. I also want to put something in the boxes for everybody. Like, like a business card that is more of not really a business card, but like a calling card, something that says thank you. But I don't want it to just be generic. I want it to be something, for right now, this is fine, right? But it doesn't say thank you. It, literally, it kind of does, it infers it, but it's not a true thank you note. But I want to think of something like that to do too. Okay, so you can see we're pretty high up. We're up to here, and this is the top of our box. So we need all this to shrink down. And that nozzle up against the fabric so I know I'm not catching any of the plastic. And then I'm keeping a firm grip, and my abdomen is laying against this hose so that it's not trying to pull away, because it's a pretty tight hose. Here we go. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, spin. Did you see that? It's fluffed up a little bit right here, but I can push that down in there. I could tape that up and get all of that inside this one box. That's a large flat box, 2 quilts, and backing and batting, but it's just leftover batting for 1 quilt. But I bet you if I were to get really creative with how I laid out that batting, I could get it in there, because it's kind of thicker here, and this squished down to just nothing. And I may have turned the vacuum off too quickly. So this is encouraging. This is encouraging. Okay, very good. Good lesson. Good lesson. So if any of you have had your quilts done by a long armor, and that long armor has put a little gift of some kind, like a card or a sticker or something, let me know what they've done. I want to do sweet things back for you guys. Give me some thoughts. I put Sherry's stickers in there. I'm excited. This one is ready. I hope that was useful for you guys. It was for me. It was just a good exercise to walk through. I want to make sure that I'm putting in good protocols and procedures at the very beginning of this business, so that it helps you guys out the most. And it's also something that makes sense on my end. So you're watching the journey. You're watching this business develop. And bringing you along for the journey is what I've promised you from the very beginning. I am a newbie at quilting. I've been quilting this time for 2 years. 2 years this past January. And before that, I quilted in the 90s. But I feel like I was hamstrung. I don't know, is that an expression that's worldwide? It's a term that means that you're kind of handicapped about it. I just did not have good guidance. You'd get some magazines and they'd have little paragraphs or 2 here and there about what you can do and can't do. I didn't have anyone around me to show me what to or to not do. And the rulers back then didn't have the non-stick on the back, and they slid all over. You'd waste fabric, and it was just a big deal. I just felt like I was far more frustrated than I was productive. I did make some quilts, but I don't know that there was any great knowledge gained during that time, just some very fundamental things. So I feel like what I'm doing now in these past 2 years is like a new launching period. And I've learned a lot in those 2 years. Learned a whole lot by doing pick a pedal, learning the long arm now. And, I was working on the Ricky Timms locomotion, learned a lot by doing that. And then, of course, my Mars quilt and the other quilts I've done too. I've done some other smaller ones and some baby quilts. And then I'm working on a really highly textured unicorn quilt. Just each thing is teaching me something, and I'm just trying to soak it all up. And I've been promising you from the very beginning, I want to make quilt making look accessible to anybody else who's out there who's a little nervous about diving in. It's just a step by step, day by day, being curious, asking the questions, taking that next step to lean in and learn. There's no great mysteries to it. If somebody else can do it, you can do it too, most likely. And that's kind of my motto. Just jump in and learn which is not always the best. Sometimes you should ask questions and then try to do it, try to go to the experts first. But yeah, the journey, that's what we're learning here. We're going to journey on over to Mars and see what we can do there. I marked out my semicircle for that 1/4, and I'm going to just fill in some blocks inside that semicircle and we'll see where we are. So I've just been placing different blocks, trying to make sense of what blocks I already have constructed and the angle that they represent, how they would be pieced together. Like, I don't want, let me find one that was a good representation, like this one. At first I had it sitting right here, and then this fabric matches up with this, so it would kind of blur the line of what was going on here, so I didn't want to do that. So number one, I think I'm going to rearrange everything, so just don't get too used to it. Just kind of walking you through my thought processes before I start cutting on anything and create new seam lines. Like, do I want to do this or do I want to do that? I want to think about all this. So that's why everything looks pretty raggedy at the moment. I have this one large block that I need to find a home for. So I am trying to put whole pieces up against as many long stretches of whole pieces up against the civilization instead of, you know, where it's constructed of a lot of little pieces like that. So that's something else I'm trying to think about. Like, this would be it'd be fine to put that up against there, but I don't like having this up against it since this is so predominant inside the civilization. So I think this could be used up here maybe where this is further away. I do like the angle that's created here because I've been wondering, how am I going to build this crust and marry it up to the crust that's on this curve, right? I thought about appliquing this down on top of the crust, but I think I'm just going to have some Y seams. Like, if my crust is put onto here, um, then I put this on and I'm just going to have some Y seams. Not quite sure. Not too worried about it, but I do want to think about it while I'm placing things. So I'm going to take everything off and try to get this big piece on there first, see where it's going to go, and then place these smaller ones. I may be trying to put square pegs in round holes. I've got, if my objective is to do this one quadrant and I've got all these big pieces, I may just be trying to force fit things. I might need to just use some of what I have and then build new to put into here along with them. So I do like this up here, but I'm not so sure that I like this little triangle at the very top of the settlement, the village here that's on Mars. I don't think I like that at all. So I may see what this looks like if it gets moved down some. So we're going to go puzzling, see what else we can come up with. I do like this seam, right? I do, but I'm just not crazy about how all this block has all these kind of coming in at an angle here. I like it better when they're all going in a lot of different directions. So I don't want that to be in such a prominent position, like right there in this corner. It might be fine. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I am a pro at overthinking. This is the one that I know I didn't like, so let's just go ahead and move it. It's just way too much of that red. I don't like, I could always replace this one piece if it's my deal breaker, but I do like that this is going all the way up here, filling in that whole section. Let me step back and see what the arrangement of the pieces, see if they're drawing your eye in one direction or another. I'd prefer this to be a contrast to all this and not blend, but that's not bad. Be real easy to just take that off and put that on there. or something else. There's plenty of options. All right, that's not looking too bad. I'm going to leave it like that to think about it over the weekend, because we're getting really close to filling in that whole quadrant, right? There would just be a few little pieces to change out, and that would be that piece there, put in something there, fill in this area here and here, and there's a little bit of the wall that you may not be able to discern, but it's right there too. And then piece everything together. Um, As if you remember from yesterday, I've marked out all those blue pieces from 40 inches from the center. I'm not going to be upset if it's 39 and a half. So you can see that I'm not fully touching the blue, and here I'm going over the blue. I just need it to be symmetrical all the way around. And so I don't want to add to this block any, because it's already got full pieces, not pieced edges. So I think this could be a good starting ground for, I'm going to just look at it and simmer about it over the weekend. We'll leave it at that. I feel good about my week. It's been very productive, I feel. We've touched a little bit of everything. I've done a little photo shoot for the quilts, for Quilter for Hire, worked on our Mars. We worked on figuring out the shipping options. I'm going to work on the website here as soon as I turn the camera off. And then it'll be the weekend, and I get to work on organizing in the space and a few things like that to try to move that needle in all the ways that I can every chance I get. I love it. In one of the comments, Joe Sews, who Quilt is one of the next ones I'll be doing, she commented on one of the videos and she said, "That needle must be smoking." It took me a second to think, what's she talking about? My phrase is keep moving that needle. And I just had so many needles moving. She was making the comment that, it's really moving fast. So moving fast and hard and must be smoking. I'm pushing it so hard. And it's good. I don't feel like I'm overdoing it. I don't have my energy fully back yet. And I still have this rib issue, but I've been able to be productive every day. So we're going in the right direction. The space feels good. It feels like it's mine. I can fine tune it. I've got a quilt on the wall downstairs that I hope to get up here over the weekend. It's just a matter of, tacking it into the wall. It won't be a big deal. And eventually I want to get, a better backdrop for that one corner over there for you guys. And then I want to bring my quilt from downstairs, the motor blockheads, and put that on that wall over there. But before I do that, I'm going to get this design board up on the wall. So little by little, these are things we'll be addressing, along with quilting and piecing, and along with actually being creative. So one of the highlights of this week, I got to just do a shout out to all the new subscribers from Barry's Quilts. Barry, the sweetheart of a man that he is, did a video to showcase the Avery quilts that we're working on. It's the Legacy Makers. So on the website, you'll see Legacy Makers, and that's what I'm calling the group of people who are contributing to Avery Quilt. And Avery Quilts is a charity aspect, an outreach of what I'm doing here on this channel to try to build quilts, as a community. We're putting together blocks, and then we're deciding which blocks go together in a quilt, and then I'm going to figure out how to get those in the hands of pediatric patients waiting for a transplant of some sort or another. So Barry helped us move the needle on that. So you know what? I think we all need to go over to Barry's channel and say, thanks for helping Dawn. I'd really appreciate if you would do that. Dawn is really appreciative of what you've done, and I've got new subscribers. I hope that's going to help move our community along, and I hope that really moves Avery Quilts along big time too. So thanks for all you new subscribers, regardless of whether or not you came here from Barry and you've been watching for a while. I would really appreciate it if you'd go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, because it does help the algorithm. Whatever you enjoy watching, YouTube is going to say, hey, people that like to watch that kind of stuff also likes to watch Dawn at the Lake. So they're going to find other people who likes to watch things like what you do and say, let's show that person the Dawn at the Lake videos. That's kind of how the algorithm works. So your contribution here does matter. And regardless of whether or not the channel grows big time or not, I just appreciate you watching, because that does help regardless. If that's all you're doing, it does help. And I want you to know I appreciate you. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.